Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the GMS. This is their part number R118 SC-26D. This is a rim cylinder is what this is. A rim cylinder is a very generically applied piece of hardware. It is a key cylinder. We call it a rim cylinder because you're generally going to find this installed in applications where the hardware is mounted on the perimeter of the door, whether it be a night latch or a surface-mounted deadbolt, or it be a key bypass for an alarm, it be exit device trim, things of that nature is where you'll see a rim cylinder generally. They're very typical and common. They're used in all of those previously mentioned applications. They'll have a flat bar style tail piece. They are generally very long. There are longer ones available, and we've actually welded very long tail pieces for clients when they've had extremely thick doors or unusual applications. But this length of tail piece, given the entire length, is going to allow you to install this in most applications with no trouble. Very occasionally somebody needs that longer tail piece. So this is a GMS. This is the name of the company, GMS. It's a rim cylinder, 118. Rim cylinders generally do not have any sort of reference to length. If this had a cam on it on the back, it would be an 1.1 long mortise-style cylinder. So that body being about 1/8 of an inch less than 1.1. It's probably where that comes into play. Underside of the head to the back of the tailpiece, it's going to be every bit of 3 3/8. So you can see that you're going to get through all your common doors. And most certainly, if anything, you'll have to cut that, carefully cut that. Don't try to snap it off to size. The reason it's important for that to be properly trimmed is that when you rotate the cylinder, you're making something move. A lobe in an exit device, a position in an alarm bypass to something touching the micro switch, turning it on, or engaging it or removing it so it can be in its natural state, probably whatever it might be on the micro switch. In an exit device, when you turn that key, you might be pulling the latch back, and you'll note that if that tailpiece isn't straight, that tailpiece wants to move like that through the opening. Doesn't really allow you to turn that key very well because the metal is literally going through an elliptical sort of movement. So you'll want to trim that straight. This features a threaded cap on the back. Okay, other models will have a C-clip, but those are less common, most certainly nowadays, than a threaded cap on the back. This is an SC, that means Schlage C. That means the broaching of the cylinder plug here is either the most common or second most common keyway of all time, either the Schlage C keyway or the Kwikset 1176, the typical Kwikset keyway. This will come with two original look-alike key blanks in a Schlage C keyway. GMS also offers a C through K keyway where they will have a cylinder that will accept all of the 7 classic conventional obverse keyways, which would be C, E, CE, F, EF, G, FG, would all pass through there. And the way that works is they literally broach that plug so large that any of the keys will fit into it. I discourage you from ordering that unless you truly have a need to run multiple key sections through a rim cylinder, because that broaching is bigger. It will allow more slop, more play of the key within the broaching of the cylinder plug. And that will contribute to premature wear and tear, failure, keys not working very well. So stick with the tight broaching of the keyway if you can, but they do make those composite style plugs as well. This is US26D. That means that it means it's satin chrome finish. It doesn't tell us the base material. I would expect this to be brass, and I'm quite sure that it must be. This will include a trim ring. That's generally how you're going to see rim cylinders. Okay. It will include the mounting plate. Mounting plate is here. That will go through your 1.25 inch diameter drilled hole. There are 2 screws that will go through these 2 holes are here as well. There's 2 of these breakaway screws. Again, you want to cut them properly to length. And they're going to sit. And there are indeed 2 of them. It's going to look like that, obviously. 2 screws. There are 2 additional holes that are in this mounting plate as well, which is here and here. Some manufacturers with some rim cylinders, depending on the application, will send you 2 very small screws so that you can mount the plate to the door. Okay, that's mounted over the 1.25" diameter hole. The rim cylinder comes in from the backside. That's all held to the door, and then you just screw it all together. And that's the contents of the package that you would get with all of this material. Let's switch to the screen view now, and let's take a closer look. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. We have some photographs posted down below. Here's the box. It's a 5-pin cylinder. There are 5 cuts on the key. This is very likely drilled 6, would be my guess, that it would accommodate a 6-pin key. I'd be surprised if it didn't. That's everything in the package. Oh, forgive me, that's not everything in the package. That's almost everything. The cylinder itself, the side view of the cylinder, the other side, up front showing the C keyway broaching. You can see the pins inside of there, pin tumbler. 2 keys, your mounting plate and the 2 screws, a backside view showing the threaded cap. And we do have the images showing the cylinder trim ring as well. Okay. Now, the extended description information does indeed confirm that it's drilled 6. What that means is that there are 5 cuts on this key. The length of the key blank from the shoulder stop down to the end here is a 5-pin length key. If you had one more cut capability, it'd be a 6-pin key. This cylinder can accept a 6-pin blank because it's physically long enough, and there's a hole up there drilled for that 6th chamber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the idea. Okay, 1.1/8 length. Not really important to know the length of a rim cylinder. Not that I'm really aware of, unless you are mounting it onto something incredibly thin. I've had people install rim cylinders onto things that were 3/4 inch thick. You know, thinner than the body length itself, where we've had to come up with a special cylinder collar. 16 keyways. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Tailpiece converts from horizontal to vertical positions. That can be handy if your application does indeed require you to depress that pin, unthread the cap, rotate this 90 degrees clockwise, pin back in, depress that as you rethread the cap. It might be that you need that tailpiece positioned in a particular orientation so that it works with the lock correctly. You might have an application where the trim requires that you install the rim cylinder on its side and you insert the key sideways. Whatever the case might be, you can move that tailpiece orientation to vertical or horizontal. Exact spinning specifications as in original systems, meaning when they have a number 3 cut on this Schlage C blank, it'll be a .210 length pin, also known as a Schlage 3 bottom pin. Solid brass construction, there you go. Everything would be brass on this. That makes sense with the exception of that tailpiece. Spring inside of there probably as well. And then again, accepts original pins when pinning to original master key systems. You can use your Schlage kit is what they're saying. I don't know that I agree with that. In fact, I would say that as an absolute rule. I would not agree that this statement is an absolute rule. I find that that's not always the case. Can't say with GMS, but with imported knockoff cylinders, non-original, that it's not the case in many instances. There's a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the GMS products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the current product catalog. Let's fire that up. R118 will just do a find function on our keyboard, and that gives us nothing. That tells me that this document must not be indexed. So we'll scroll through it. Not a bad idea. Different finishes. They talk about their 16 standard keyways they mentioned. Well, there's more than 16 here. Don't know that you can get the rim in all of these, but the point being is, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if you can get an ASA twin in a rim cylinder from GMS. You may be able to. I don't know if you can do some of these high security platforms. There's that composite I had mentioned, C through K, SX, and the bold letters below are the code and the part number to give you what you need. They can do small format. These would be the best keyways, cloned by countless people, namely Falcon and Arrow, patented by Frank Best in about 1921. That's when the patent was granted. Mortise cylinders, different lengths, anatomy of a mortise cylinder, thumb turn style cylinders. A mortise thumb turn, you will bump into the requirements for those. Aluminum storefront, most definitely. Different cams for these mortise cylinders, dummy cylinders. Oops, I drilled the hole in the wrong side of the door. Can't get a new door, so let's get a dummy cylinder. Or when you are removing a keyed cylinder from the inside of aluminum storefront because the inspector indicated, I will allow the lock, but you'll remove that keyed cylinder and put a dummy in its place. You don't want special knowledge in the event of a emergency egress preventing people from getting out. Here are our rim cylinders, our R118. 22 keyways, they say over here. All stacked up there nicely. And we can do a little deeper dive on those keyways. They do offer that ASA twin. I don't know that I would buy an ASA twin cylinder. Well, I suppose I would. It's just you're going to have a heck of a time getting keys cut for that. If 2 keys are good enough, and you want something that will be difficult to get copies made. Okay. Arrow, these ASAs be unusual. These 2 Corbins are pretty common. The L4 is the modern, the current keyway. That Kwikset 1176, Russwin D1, Sergeant LA, Composite Sergeant, LBRA, Schlage C, Everest C123 and 145, Composite, Schlage E, F, Siegel 9, Weiser E, Yale 8, and Yale GA. All very common keyways. The Schlage C is going to be the most common in my experience from all of those, but looking at this column, Yale 8, Yale GA, Composite Schlage, Russwin D1, certainly Kwikset. That's going to work in terms of common cylinders that you'll sell. Different finishes, and then you can special order from the factory some keying requirements should you need that. As you continue on through the catalog, you'll certainly bump into additional material. Before we leave the rim cylinder, here's the anatomy of the rim cylinder, showing you the collar that's there as well. Rim dummy cylinders, those exist. If you need to, take a rim exit device that had a keyed trim on it and you're going to now turn it into a a storeroom function, that would be the way to go. You could just plug that rather than spend, a small amount or a tremendous amount of money on a new trim. Other cylinders as you go through, key and knob, key and lever, deadbolt, different tail pieces, accessories for these cylinders, small format cores. They're certainly going to have them in lots of keyways. I'm sure that I've pinned GMS cores small format. Large format IC. This is going to be Schlage, so it would be more accurately called full-size interchangeable core if you're using Schlage's nomenclature. Anatomy of that clone cylinder. Tapered head style, thin head style mortise cylinders. Depending on the application, these might work very well for you. Taper head would be appropriate for an exterior application where you're going to incorporate a security element to the head of the cylinder. That tapered style works to prevent getting a pipe wrench around it, to bypass by means of destruction. The thin head is the same thing. It's such a small amount of room to get a tool onto, it's all but impossible. Lengths of this material, anatomy of those items, so on and so forth. I'll leave the balance up to you to explore. and let's wrap up this video on camera. In conclusion, a decent quality cylinder. I really don't have any reservations about any of the GMS products. The only thing that you might note is they have a pretty comprehensive product catalog. They've got lots of options in there. I generally find, however, that the lead time on much of what they have is absolutely made to order, special order, has to be made several weeks, that kind of thing. I don't dissuade you from considering GMS at all, but if it's something less common, you might want to check the lead time first. We will likely have a solution from an alternate manufacturer. Keep that in mind. But use GMS where and when you can. It's a competitively priced product, a high-quality product. And my only concern sometimes would be the lead time. If you have any questions on the GMS R118 in an SC keyway, 26D finish, or any other GMS product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.